When I left you at the end of part one, we were sitting together in the ache of rejection, in that painful silence that comes when your heart has finally said yes, but your family has answered with no. And if you're still here, still listening, it tells me something important. You know this story isn't over. You know that somewhere beyond the pain, there must be a reason, an explanation, something deeper than just cruelty or stubbornness. And that's exactly what we need to uncover in this part of the journey. If you've ever felt confused, asking yourself, why can't they just be happy for me? Why can't they see what I see? Then stay with me until the very end, because we're going to pull back the curtain on why families resist, why love and family so often collide. I remember staring across the dinner table at the faces I had loved for decades, the same faces I had sacrificed for, cooked for, prayed for, worried about endlessly. Those were the faces now looking at me with disappointment and fear. At first I told myself it was just shock, that they needed time, that once they saw the smile on my face, they would soften. But time passed, and the questions only grew sharper. Are you sure? What do you even need from this? Haven't you already had your chance? And those questions cut deeper than any outright refusal, because underneath them was an assumption that my time for love was over, that my role was to remain in place, unmoving, only as mother, father, grandmother, provider, but never again as a lover, a partner, a person with needs and desires of my own. And here is the truth we don't like to say out loud. Families resist, not always because they hate, but because they fear. Fear is often louder than love when change arrives. Fear of being replaced, fear of losing the bond, fear of not being enough, fear of watching roles shift in ways they cannot control. Have you ever noticed how children, no matter how old they are, still want to believe they are the center of your world? Even when they are grown with families of their own, they want to know that their place is secure. So when someone new enters your life, they don't just see your joy, they see a threat. They see a tension that might turn away from them. They see traditions disrupted, holidays reshaped, inheritance complicated. What to you feels like a new beginning, to them feels like a storm tearing apart what they thought was stable. And that is where the clash happens. Love asks you to move forward, to embrace joy, to take risks. Family asks you to remain steady, predictable, safe, the anchor that never drifts. And when those two forces collide, sparks fly. But I want you to hear me clearly. Their resistance is not always about you. It's about their own fears, their own insecurities, their own longing to hold on to what they know. When I finally understood this, I realized something important. Their no was not just rejection of my partner, it was fear of change. It was grief disguised as anger. It was love tangled up with loss. Think about it. If you have children, haven't you felt fear when they made choices that pulled them away from you? When they chose a partner you didn't approve of, or moved to a city far from home, or pursued a life you couldn't quite understand? Didn't you, even if quietly, resist because you wanted to protect them, or because you didn't want to lose the closeness you once had? That same feeling now lives in them, directed back at you. They are afraid of losing you. They are afraid of being left behind. But fear expressed in clumsy ways comes out as anger, judgment, control. And that is what we face when our families push back against our joy. Now, I know you might be listening and thinking, that explains it, but it doesn't make it hurt any less. And you're right. Understanding the why doesn't erase the sting. It doesn't erase the tears when a child refuses to meet your partner. It doesn't soften the silence when siblings stop calling. It doesn't make the guilt vanish when you're told you're selfish for choosing love again. But it does give you clarity, and clarity is the beginning of power. So let me tell you something you need to hold on to. Their no does not mean you are wrong for saying yes. Their fears do not erase your right to be happy. Their resistance does not make your heart's desire invalid. This is the tension we live with, honoring their fears without surrendering our joy. I want to pause here and invite you. If this resonates with you, share your story in the comments, because when we tell the truth about these struggles, we find out we are not alone. You are not the only one who has heard, "You're too old." You're not the only one who has felt judged for daring to start over. And someone right now, reading your words, might find the courage they need just because you were willing to speak. The truth is, families collide with love because they don't yet understand that your new beginning doesn't erase them. They don't yet see that love expands, it doesn't replace. They don't yet trust that they still matter to you, and so they resist, they pull back, they lash out. But behind that resistance is still love. Twisted, fearful, protective love. I remember one evening when my daughter finally spoke her deepest fear. Through tears, she said, "I feel like I'm losing you, like you're choosing someone else over me." And in that moment, I realized what all the coldness and harsh words had been hiding. It wasn't that she hated my partner. It wasn't that she thought I was foolish. It was that she was scared. Scared that my love for her would shrink. Scared that my attention, my care, my loyalty would shift. And once I saw the fear, I could finally respond with compassion instead of anger. That is why this part of the journey matters. Because if we never understand the why, we will only trade anger for anger, silence for silence, distance for distance. But if we can see their resistance as fear instead of hatred, we can begin to build bridges. Now let me ask you, does this sound familiar to you? Have you seen fear hiding behind harsh words? Have you noticed that sometimes those who criticize you most are the ones who actually love you most, but don't know how to express it? If you have, stay with me, because the next part of our journey is where healing begins. But before we move forward, I want you to take a breath with me. I want you to imagine for a moment that your family's resistance is not a wall, but a cry. Not rejection, but fear. Not dismissal, but longing. How does that change the way you see it? Does it soften the edges, even just slightly? Does it make you realize that maybe, just maybe, this battle is not meant to destroy, but to transform? This is why I need you to keep walking with me. Because in part 3, we're not just going to name the problem, we're going to search for the solution. We're going to uncover how to live in the middle ground, how to follow your heart without abandoning your family, how to find peace between love and family. That's the promise waiting for us. But we can't rush there. We have to honor this step, the messy, confusing, painful step of understanding why the people we love resist the love we choose. So here's my invitation. Stay connected. Share this video. Subscribe if you haven't yet, because the journey doesn't stop here. If part 1 was about naming the pain, and part 2 was about understanding the fear, then part 3 is about discovering the path forward. You won't want to miss that. For now, hold this truth close. Your family's no is not the final word. It is only the beginning of a conversation that with time and courage can lead to understanding. So don't give up, don't silence your heart, and don't walk away just yet. Because the next part may be the one that finally shows you how love and family can coexist, not as enemies, but as companions on your journey.